What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals look at weird angles. You'll find out when you watch another Happy Landing while I'm here. That's where I explain it this upcoming Saturday. Um,
Nice, nice.
uh, but we are here. Thank you to our patrons, Steve and Kimberly. You guys rock. If you are not a member of the Patreon, please go be a member. It would really, really mean a lot to us. Link is in the description below. As well as, look at this. Ooh, Kyle, I know you
Oh,
showing it
let me
off. Look
show
at that.
mine.
Movie Meals merch, dude. I slept in this last night. I was a little cold. I was like, I'm gonna sleep in a sweatshirt. Oh wait, why don't I grab my comfiest sweatshirt?
You
So
you
I
slept
grabbed
in
this
it.
one.
I bathed in this. I took a shower in this. That's how
um,
nice it is.
we have special Valentine's Day merch that Kyle worked really hard on. That is awesome. They'll be flashed on the screen. Please go check those out. I've got some coming. They should actually have been here yesterday, I believe. I'm gonna go check my mailbox when I leave here later today. We've got some fun plays for Valentine's off of this famous film right here,
Ooh,
Casablanca, as well as
classic.
some other really cool stuff. So guys, please go get the merch. It's at teespring.com/stores/movie meals. It's linked in the description. It's awesome stuff. It's super comfortable. Um, all right, so here we are. Malcolm and Marie, Netflix's new movie, Zendaya, John David Washington. Um, it was filmed during quarantine. It's written by the one of the co-creators of the show Euphoria. Is pretty much the only thing he has done. They
Directed by him
filmed it.
too.
Yep, and
Yeah.
they filmed it in quarantine. It's a short synopsis. It's basically a story about a couple in Hollywood coming home from the premiere of his movie, and they get into kind of a fight as they reveal a lot about themselves and each other, and the whole movie is just basically this fight. So let's get into it. Kyle, what were your positives of the film?
My biggest positive is from the two leads and John David Washington and Zendaya. I mean, separately, like at this point, we know like how good of actors and their capabilities, but this really showcases their acting chops. And it's pretty much only them. There's no one else involved in this movie that you see on screen. So for these two to carry the film for its runtime of what, like an hour, 45 minutes, something like that, almost two
Yeah,
hours, for them to carry this movie as much as they did is just so impressive, and this is just a really good showcasing of how great of actors that these two are becoming. Another thing that came from their acting that I really appreciated was showing the complications of a relationship, not just a Hollywood relationship, but a relationship in general. Like, not only were they showing, the highs of their relationship and showing the times when they genuinely cared and support each other, but then immediately after, it just shows the toxicity of their relationship, to which they may not realize that they're in a toxic relationship, but it's just clear that they are. It just is a showing of like how, despite you loving someone, no matter what, there still could be toxic traits between you and your partner. And I think it does a good job of showcasing that, though. I'll talk about that in my negatives, how that could also be like not so good if the viewer doesn't understand that those types of relationships all that well. But I'll get into that more for the negatives anyway. But I think for the most part, it does do a pretty good job at showcasing that stuff. And then on top of that, there's the elements like the music and the cinematography that I thought were very impressive. And I thought that they really did a good job at setting the scene in a lot of really key moments and the highs and lows throughout the whole movie. So those things off the top of my head, those are the really big positives that made me enjoy this movie for the most part.
do you mind if I do my positives and then I go negatives first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I agree. I think the performances are outstanding. I think Zendaya is a real force. And I
Yeah.
think John David Washington is proving that he is not in his dad's shadow, that
Yeah.
he is actually a great talent. And I think he
Hmm.
has shown that in the past. He was great in Tenant. He was great in Black Klansman, and
Yeah.
he is great
Yeah.
here. Um, I really loved their performances, and I did really like the the cinematography. I thought was very well done. Um, it was shot on film. At least it looks like it was shot on film. You never know if they
Yeah.
just throw a filter over it. Uh, but I really didn't like the movie. And I'm gonna get into my
Okay.
negatives. And uh, I I didn't like the direction and I didn't love the script. There are
Okay.
moments I really like, um, as in, well, I don't really like because they're saying awful things to each other, but there are moments where um, it is a gut punch. The reaction is a gut punch. There's a
Yeah.
bathtub scene, which is the one I think hits the hardest and the
Yeah.
best. But I think it's a weak script, and it reminded me in a weird way a lot of Mother, where it was just this guy. It was a student film to me. It was a higher budgeted student film. It was a guy who had a
Yeah.
lot to say, and so he
Mhm.
wrote it, and it felt like exposition dumps. And I don't think it is structured very well because there's not. They just take turns being mean to one another, and I've been in a very toxic relationship. Um, Funny enough, with the same name of girl. Uh, but I and I've been in a relationship that had similar fights, and I remember being a little nervous going into the movie because I was like, "Am I going to get like a weird flashback?" I didn't, but I've been through that, and as somebody that has been through a toxic relationship, um, where this one was a little different because I think my experience was a little bit more one-sided and this one was not. This is
Mhm.
very much both of them.
Mhm.
Um, but it's to the point. I mean, I got 45 minutes into the movie and just thought to myself, I really just want them to break up and I want this movie to be over with.
Yeah.
Because it's just not written well. It's exposition dumps of what they hate about each other, and then they show some real moments of what real abuse and things like that really is like. And I'm sure there are couples that are similar to this. And I've been in fights where it was kind of taking shots at one another. I never said anything as mean as what he said. He said some horrible things.
Yeah. Jeez. Holy cow.
But I've had a girl say horrible things like she says or that he said to her in the movie to me. Um, and it just there were times it didn't feel real. It felt very
Mhm.
scripted, and there are moments it feels real, but I didn't love it. And when I finished it, I thought, man, I thought I had heard this movie was getting a lot of praise, and so I decided to do a little dive on critic reviews and audience reviews and just kind of seeing what people on like Twitter and Reddit and whatnot were thinking. And it really is more of like the casual Netflix fan that I think is praising it, but like it's got a 58 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think that is exactly where it should be. I think it's not a great movie.
Okay.
Um, and it's getting a lot of comparison to Marriage Story, which sucks because I've seen a lot of people bring race into it. And I get the similarities with Marriage Story, and I think Marriage Story is a better movie because I think it feels a little more real.
Yeah.
Um, and in its script. And
Mhm.
Noah's just a better writer. And there are moments in Euphoria that it's a little much. And it's like, I don't really think this is really that real. I think there are parts of this that are legit and happening, but it's a little bit much and it's got a little bit of exposition dumps of just spewing out everything. And that's what this movie was. And so for a first movie for him, I think it was a good first movie. And I'd be curious to see what he does next as a writer that's different out of this wheelhouse. Zendaya basically plays the older version of her Euphoria character. Um, so, I mean, they do a great job, but that's just my take. I'm curious what you think.
Well, I'm trying to think of where to start with this. I get where you're coming from, though, with some of your criticisms. Though I did end up enjoying the movie probably more than you did. But when it comes to the subject matter and when it comes to this toxicity, you were bringing up how you were in a situation that wasn't the same, but it was sort of similar. But meanwhile, with me, I haven't been in a situation like that, but I still ended up enjoying the movie more. And I just wonder if
Maybe that's
there
why.
I wonder if there will it could be, and I wonder if there will be a disconnect between those who have been in similar situations and those who have not, and the takeaways from that could determine whether you enjoy this movie or not. So I'm not quite sure if the purpose for this movie really has worked all that much, if it's just going to cause a divide between those who have and those who have not been in these similar situations. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but I feel like this could be a big outcome and a big reason why some people lean more one side to this movie than others. And I think those issues that you were saying with the exposition dumps and feeling like it's a pattern of he says something mean first and then she says something mean first. I think a large problem of that came down to its runtime. Like I was feeling at the 45-minute mark I was feeling that the pattern was coming and I was feeling a bit disconnected because I was enjoying the movie for the most part, but once you see that there's a pattern coming and there's still so much movie left, like it's gonna pull you out of ways, even though the acting is so good. So I feel like the runtime for this could have been a lot shorter. There still could have been impact, and you wouldn't have felt this movie drag. You wouldn't have felt this movie feel in such a repeated pattern to where it loses its luster a whole lot. So I think those were really big impacts and don't make me love this movie as much as I really thought I should. But it really just comes down to the performances to me, where it highlights, really bad toxic relationships despite them thinking like there is good within their relationships. Though I think after a while, due to the runtime and due to a pattern that comes from kind of a weaker script, it just doesn't really hold as much weight as it probably should throughout the whole thing. So the criticisms I think are very fair. I'm kind of in agreement with you, but I still was able to get a better watching experience out of it, probably most part due to those acting performances by the two.
I think it's an interesting point you make where you haven't been in those situations
Yeah,
where I have, because a lot of them didn't feel real to me because I have been in them.
right.
In fact, I've been on one that was, I mean, I've been in an argument that was almost the exact same, where it started from a very similar point, except I would
Mhm.
have been in Zendaya's shoes, but I'm also not a recovered drug addict. When she picks up the
Yeah.
knife and she like gets, this is kind of a spoiler, but when she picks up the knife and does that little monologue, I remember being
Mhm.
like, this movie is about to get real fun because I thought she was serious. And then when
Yeah.
she pulled it, I was like, all right, that was a really good moment. But I also
And
low
then
key was kind of
Washington's
like,
response was great.
yeah. And then I was kind of like, man, could we have made this a horror movie? Like, that would have been kind of cool. This just took a horror turn. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
I just didn't love it. I thought
Mhm.
it was just it was just okay. And it's funny that they do so much exposition dump about the critique of um of
Film
s-
criticism.
film criticism, and then that's just what we're doing, but it's not
Yeah.
well written. It And that is exactly, and I'm going to be honest,
I thought
when
those moments were great personally. I really laughed hard at them because for the
I
most part they were right.
I mean, he's right, but I read it as I went to film school, and the amount of kids that I know that talked like that and they
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
sound authentic, which is,
Yeah.
they fought about authenticity, but they sounded that stupid, that it didn't work for me, because it was like, this
Sure.
is a dumb line, because there are people like that who act that way, but like, that's the whole point of art, is to be critiqued. Like, that
Yeah.
is what the point is. It's to enjoy, and everybody has a different viewing. And I just didn't love the movie.
Hon
And I was bummed I didn't like love it. I liked
honestly,
it. It was okay.
honestly, I was watching this movie, and throughout the whole thing, I was like, Alex is gonna bring up film school because we've had these conversations before, and I
Why
agree with
wouldn't
you.
I?
Like, it does feel like a film school type of film, but I think it's done a little bit better than most, film school type films are. But I just had a good laugh from it because I was like, oh, I could see this being brought up, and I just thought it was funny. Though
What's
I agree
funny,
with you about
when
it.
I watched it, I thought to myself, I'm gonna bring up film school and my past relationships and probably make Kyle groan.
Oh, I mean,
I had that thought.
I mean, I'm not too surprised, but I'm also understanding where you're coming from. Like, I totally get your
it's
criticisms based on
it's
those
how you
experiences.
view the movie. I mean, that's how people view movies, is based off your experiences.
Yeah.
And I do think it was a good movie. I think it was good, and I am more curious now to see what he would do differently, because he does kind of play in his own wheelhouse of the two things I've seen him do. Euphoria
Hmm.
and this are not necessarily super different, and I'd like to now see him tackle something different as a writer and a director. Um,
He did a movie a couple of years back called Assassination Nation, and it was about like
yeah,
it was almost like Sucker Punch, but
yeah, it
like a
wasn't
high
very
school
good.
setting. Yeah, I don't remember hearing good things, but I remember the trailer and being like, "What is this thing? Like,
Yeah,
this is so
felt
weird and
very
out
film
there."
school, and I'm done with film
Yeah.
school. I think film
Yeah.
school gets a feeling for a while. Like, somebody who broke away from film school is oh, why can't I think of him? It's the director I don't really like very much. I love some of his movies. He made like Fantastic Mr. Fox. Um,
Oh, Paul Thomas
no,
Anderson?
it's the other
Yeah.
one. It's the other Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson. Like, Wes
Yeah.
Anderson, I think some of his movies are very film schooly, but some of them are not, and
Yeah.
those are the ones that I love. And the
Mhm.
rest I just think are okay, because they feel film schooly, like you're. And when I say film schooly, what I mean by that is they feel the kids in film school that I relate that saying to are the kids that felt that what they were making was better than everybody else because they're a thespian and
Sure.
that they understand it better than everyone. And it's a high horse thing. And that's what I didn't like.
Yeah.
Where
We're not
Nolan,
saying that film school is bad to do. We're just saying
no,
that we
no, no,
have
I went to
experienced
film
a
school.
certain crowd where
Yes, that
they
were
are
in
more
film
uppity
school.
about film,
Yeah.
while we're just two schmucks who are like, let's talk about fun movies,
And I
Like,
think
yeah, it's yeah.
those people always tend to grab like Tarantino and say
Mhm.
oh, he's a god of film school. And Tarantino kind of has that film school feel, but in a good way. It
Yes,
is unique and different, but he doesn't feel like he's on a high horse better than everyone because he is such a
correct.
lover of cinema. Where
This isn't
even
about the
when
review. This isn't about the movie
no,
anymore.
no, but this is a fun conversation.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, those are our thoughts. Is there anything else?
Mhm.
I think we kind of said them. Do you add anything else?
Yeah, I like this movie. I liked what it was trying to do. I don't think it
Okay.
necessarily does good at what it's trying to do, but I appreciate the performances and I liked it because of that.
Mhm, mhm. All right, guys, what did you think of the movie? Please comment below. Let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Thank you again to our patrons. You guys are awesome. Go get this merch. Please, please, please. All linked in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.